Test. Right, the driverless skip pad is now open, and we've had some questions from teams where the entrance actually is. It's not near the Brunel stand where the test area is for normal cars. It's actually next to the Volkswagen truck. So please stay a bit closer to that area. It's between the Continental truck and the Volkswagen truck. That's where the entrance is for the driverless skip pad event. That has officially just opened up. So let's see who the first car is going to be that will show up.
Yeah, so we can also see the grandstands have been filled up a little bit more. You can see us, you'll notice Austin, who is in his banana suit with all kinds of colors. So if you want to know who the commentary team is, just look out for the guy with the most colors, then probably the rest will be around.
It's very fashionable. So here we have the driverless Zurich team looking for the entrance. We're getting closer now, so they might actually be the first guys to show up after they also were the first guys to show up at the acceleration earlier today.
Ja, zumindest sinnlos, dass Moment. Zumindest so sinnlos, dass du halt nicht viel von den Autos filmst, siehst. Na, hast du auch mitbekommen? Autos fahren hier rein, starten dort, drehen ihre Runden und haben den Auslauf nach da hinten raus. Das heißt, alle die Kameras hier werden die Autos nur von hinten haben. Die einzigen beiden Kameras, die sie vielleicht von vorne nehmen können, sind die da hinten. Die kommen aber nicht nah genug ran.
Sure, guys seem to be.
running quite successfully on test tracks before. We've also seen them struggle with a pretty basic course in a straight line this morning, so it depends. We'll see.
Yeah, and on the other side of the track we see the test area. I believe it's a combustion car at the moment. It's Hertfordshire, I just heard. Arguably one of the best UK teams here. They're testing. They're up for tomorrow. So today, this afternoon, it's only the wet pad for the driverless vehicles. And then tomorrow we will have also other events for the other vehicles. So then a lot more cars will run, at least as we saw today. Nonetheless, I think this run coming up will be very, very interesting to see how the driverless car actually will handle all the corners and cones and, well, quite curious to see there.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to have the skid pad, the wet pad for the electric and combustion vehicles. And then the same day we'll see the track run for the driverless cars. And on Saturday we'll see acceleration in the morning for the combustion and electric cars, and autocross in the afternoon, which will be run where we're standing right now. And then on Sunday, of course, it's going to be the endurance. As far as I can see, there's no equipment to make the track wetter than it already is. So maybe officially this doesn't count as a wet pad, or at least not one that is purposefully wet. So of course today it is wet because of the rain. I guess for tomorrow there will be more installations that will wet the track such that it is the same wetness throughout the day for all the teams.
So we can see again more or less the similar procedure we saw this morning in acceleration. The team last minute cleaning all the sensors. In front of them they have a LiDAR. Supposedly they also might have some cameras. I don't have the entire spec sheet here in front of me. Maybe Thijs, you can comment on that. They are cleaning all the sensors. Then the cover will be put on and the car will be put into action mode. We can see in which mode the cars are depending on the light. I can also see the brake light from here. Because from where I'm standing I cannot see the tractive system active light. That's why Thijs and Austin split up. So Thijs, what kind of color is the T-Sol at this moment?
Yeah, this is live from the Tractor System Active Light reporting station. Currently it's green, which means that only the low voltage system is on. In a little bit it will switch to blinking red, which means the high voltage system is on, joined by the blue light, which indicates that the autonomous system is on. And as soon as it actually goes into driving mode, it will be yellow. A blinking, flashing blue light indicates that an emergency stop has been made by the remote control. One of the guys from the team carries a device that can interrupt the power from the car and activate the brakes in case something goes wrong. We've seen that a couple times in the acceleration event this morning. Let's hope we don't see it too often, but I'm guessing we might see it again this afternoon, so keep an eye out for that. If the car finishes properly, it'll stop in the orange box that is indicated on the other side of the skid pad, and it should go back to green light after the driving mode has been turned off. So the very fastest time we've seen in recent years is about a 5.06, I think. That was on a very quick time from one of the teams in previous years. I'm curious to see how close the driverless cars can come. I have actually no idea how much the guys from Zurich tested on that specific scenario. This morning the Karlsruhe guys got to a 4.29 on acceleration in the wet, so that actually approached some of the faster times we would expect for combustion cars. Maybe not quite as fast as the fastest electric cars could muster under similar conditions, but still a very quick time for the wet. Regardless of the absolute quickness of the times, shall we say, the race this morning was very close, with a 4.37 from Zurich right behind Karlsruhe. But it was only an 8/100ths of a second difference. It'll be cool to see if the competition is going to be that close again, regardless of how close they will get to the absolute fastest times that we know are possible on this track. The guys from Zurich with their driverless cars are actually driving on Hoosiers, by the look of it. That is different from what their current electric, fully electric but human-driven car is driving on nowadays, because they actually drive on Continentals. The Continentals show that they're pretty quick in the wet last year. They drove the fastest times, I think, last year on the wet pad. So maybe the Hoosiers aren't going to be quite as quick. I think the Karlsruhe car is actually driving Continental, so purely based on that, maybe the Karlsruhe guys have a slightly upper edge.
So since the car is obviously driverless, everybody is being sent away by the marshals to go to a safe position. So it's a little bit like acceleration this morning. This is a first-time event, so we're just figuring out also as organization what exactly will be the safest options. What we saw this morning also is that it was a slow start, but in the end a very, very close competition.
Guck mal, ich habe jetzt Audio.
So I'm hoping to see a similar pattern this afternoon.
Yep, the high voltage system has just been activated, and the safety switch is being carried away from the car, and the car will soon be activated. Green flag has been waved, so the team has gotten the go-ahead to start. And the car is off. Yellow lights flashing.
This is very quick. This is very quick.
It's looking very smooth. Oh, he is collecting some cones. Oh, and he smashed right into the timing equipment.
We did say that we were a bit curious how the car would handle the crossover, Mickey. So I'm quite sure that the timekeeping guys will not be so happy with this demolition derby. But then again, the first two laps, the right-hand corners were looking very, very quickly.
Yeah, it looked really quick, especially the first lap clockwise. It looked like the second lap started off with a little bit of a slide, and after that it tried to correct itself, but got a couple of cones and then just went haywire. We saw yesterday that this car had also some trouble after hitting cones. It would have a stack overflow or stuff like that, and so that happened now maybe as well. But it was really impressive, especially the first lap.
It was very impressive, but that looked almost like the same exact issue they had yesterday. As you said, they started to hit some cones and the car got a bit confused and sort of veered off course.
Yeah, surely we will keep you posted when we have any more information regarding the circumstances here. The guys from Zurich usually very, very happy, very relaxed. They surely answer all the questions that we have. But for now, it's very good that they competed. They were the first car. No more cars at this moment in the dynamic area. So I'm also thinking that the timekeeping guys have some work to do. So probably the event will be a little bit on pause. Whilst there is a car practicing again, is that again the same car as we saw just now, Austin?
It does look like it is the same car, Hertfordshire. Doing some more wet running. I guess in preparation for what they think is going to be some wet autocross, at least on Saturday. I think the weather's supposed to sort of be like this. Sunday it's supposed to improve, but just trying to gain any advantage they can.
Yeah, so this is, well, the 10th year I haven't been attending Hockenheim. I can't recall ever that the timing equipment was run over. Can you, Austin?
No, I can't think of any time it's happened. I guess it was the first time for everything, though.
Yeah, then again, we don't know everything. Maybe the guys here know. Mickey, you have a little bit more experience than I. Did we ever see timing equipment being run over during skid pad?
Oh yes, we have. I remember some years ago back in FSUK that some teams spun out as well. So this is not the first and probably not the last.
But it is the first driverless.
Absolutely, that's a record by itself.
It might be a while for the timekeeping guys to set up the whole system again, because they'll have to run through some checks, and let's hope that all the equipment is still functioning properly.
Tobi, ich kann jetzt nicht weiter schwenken.
so, da kommt jetzt gleich die Kamera.
I got that. That's fair.
So I just had a very quick chat with the guys from Zurich. They indicated that there's nothing specifically wrong with the car whatsoever. This was not supposed to happen, obviously, no Thijs, but they did indicate it was very slippery, more slippery than they would have expected, and they oversteered a little bit, and the algorithm was unable to compensate for that. They want to fix the car. The car is not broken, but they want to fix the software first, and then let's see whether we can have them for an interview. But now they need to work on the car a little bit. Whilst the marshals are fixing the timing equipment.
Yeah, this morning we saw some cars that were veering, well, especially the Hamburg car, veering from left to right, struggling to properly compensate for relatively small deviations at first, turning those into larger deviations. But in those conditions this morning, there wasn't all that much slip involved, it seemed, at the start. But the Zurich car we saw just now actually was slipping quite badly, and I can imagine that the controllers are having more trouble properly taking into account how the car acts under slip, because that is of course much more difficult to predict for a controller. So maybe we should expect this to happen with a car like this on the first time. Let's hope they do get running properly for the next one. Timekeeping guys now reinstalled the timing equipment. Looks like they moved back the equipment a little bit to keep this from happening the next time. I saw them executing some tests. Let's see if everything is functioning properly yet.
Meanwhile, Austin is folding his umbrella. That means that the rain has gotten significantly less. It's not completely dry yet, but it looks like conditions might be improving a little bit. This will also help the other cars to set a better time. Not quite sure, Thijs, do you expect the cars to run with slicks today, or will they remain on wet tires?
Well, it's still pretty cloudy and not that warm, so I'm not expecting this to be an actual dry skid pad anytime soon.
Yeah, so there, we have three indications. We have dry conditions, we have wet conditions, and we have damp conditions. In the dry, obviously teams are running on slicks. In the wet, they are obliged to run on their rain tires. But within damp conditions, it gets a little bit more interesting, because teams then have the option to choose which kind of tire that they are putting under. I'm not quite sure whether we are at this moment declared wet or damp. Do you know, Thijs?
I think officially throughout the entire morning event, it was actually damp, which is kind of surprising because it was very wet. But with that in mind, this will definitely be damp, I guess, if they're being consistent about it. I haven't checked it recently, though. A tiny little bit of blue sky has been spotted in between the clouds.
I can see three spots now.
3 spots now.
Yeah, I've seen it. Waiting for the camera.
So Austin, for you being from Britain, this is definitely summer.
Yeah, this is a perfect summer day, if you ask me. Can't ask for anything more than this. See some blue sky.
hinten auf dem Testlandesplatz mit voran, wenn es uns geschnappt.
So Austin, you just had a check with the timekeeping guys. Any updates from there?
Yeah, I think the track is ready for some more action now. I managed to trip the timing beam as I walked past it, so I guess that means it's working.
So you're not on the board, but you did trip the beacon. This is maybe a good time also to remind the teams to fill in the commentary form. Yesterday on Facebook and our Twitter account, we posted a questionnaire for everyone to fill in. So please do, if you want us to talk about your team, what you want us to tell about your team, any fun anecdotes, driver names, team names, or any other stuff you want to share with us, please fill it in so we have something to talk about the rest of the weekend.
Alright, little update on the technical inspection status. Like this morning, still only 4 driverless teams are actually through scrutineering all the way. So it's still TU Hamburg, Augsburg, Zurich, and KIT, Karlsruhe. Those 4 teams are, well, we expect them to take part in SkidPad this afternoon. Tomorrow the other teams will be up. So far 22 teams in total, so that includes the 4 driverless cars, have finished all parts of scrutineering. So another 18 cars, some of them combustion, some of them electric, have finished all parts of scrutineering. All the other teams will be frantically trying to get through scrutineering today or tomorrow morning before SkidPad is done. Of course, they have the entire day for that, but some teams will also have to do statics. So it might get tight for some of the teams, especially towards the lower end of the scrutineering list. Let's hope that all of them can at least have a first attempt at mechanical scrutineering today, because that is the hardest part often, and that they can get by with a couple of fixes and get through all the way tomorrow.
Is the event open again? And cars line up.
Just to clarify, the event is open again, so if any of the other driverless teams want to join the queue, they're more than welcome to come in and line up and have a go. Yeah, there is a driverless queue at the moment. Yeah, carless queue.
A carless driverless queue. And to solve that, we're looking for driverless cars with drivers on board to drive in this direction to fill the queue. So please, guys from Hamburg, Karlsruhe and Augsburg, come this way and make us happy. once again Hertfordshire in the background on the test track.
I think they're the top UK in testing so far here this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Top UK team in right-hand turns.
We've just gotten a question through on the live stream asking about the first and second drivers for the driverless skid pad event and how that works. I guess to try to give a reasonably serious answer, in theory, if all of the teams were to line up at once to go at the same time, each car would get 2 runs. And once they'd all finished their 2 runs, they could then do their 3rd and 4th runs.
But it's a very smart question. Kudos for that.
Da passiert jetzt gerade was auf der Strecke, also wir halten sich mit den Officials oder vielleicht einer von uns drauf oder so.
So while we are waiting for the next car to join the dynamic area, our raging pit reporter Thijs is going into the paddock to see whether any other cars coming this way. He has a radio on, so he can hear us also when he breaks up to see what's going on inside the paddock. So Thijs, what do you see in the paddock?
Test. The static on my monitor is pretty dramatic, so it's not a very pleasant experience so far.
So Thijs is coming back from quite an uneventful journey through the paddock. Didn't work exactly as planned, but he's back here now. So Thijs, what did you see in the paddock?
Yeah, that was a pretty dramatically unsuccessful adventure. I didn't see anything because the mic started breaking up before it could actually reach the paddock. And I made a lot of noise, apparently.
Meanwhile, the car on the test track is providing some entertainment in the form of throttle steering. Scrubbing in the tires, I suppose, but I don't know exactly what for, because they're not supposed to have an official event today. So.
Sorry to interrupt you, Steph, but it looks like Zurich are bringing slicks out to put on their car. I have to say the skid pad doesn't have any puddles on it, so it's a gamble that might pay off.
Yeah, they did indicate when they came back from their very eventful skid pad that the tires that they had on were a little bit old. So maybe that's also a reason why they're bringing out the slicks. As we also know from these slicks, they're the Hoosier tires. If they use the very soft compound, it is actually possible to drive in these damp conditions quite well with the softer Hoosier compound. But I'm not quite sure which compound they are using. Let's try and ask them. Just asked about the Hoosier tires from the Zurich team. It's actually not the soft compound that we know. It's the R25B compound, which actually surprises me a little bit because in damp conditions it's a little bit a harder compound. So I'm quite curious to see whether they'll actually manage in these conditions. Then again, the current tires that they have were a little bit old and hard, so maybe it's better anyway.
And the driver is still looking very upbeat, so I think the team is looking forward to making their next run.
It must be the happiest driver of any driverless car I've ever seen.
I've got to agree, because I think if something goes wrong, they can't blame him, so there's nothing to be worried about on his part.
It might even be the happiest driver I've ever seen, ever. Also regarding not driverless cars.
Yeah, he has had a smile on his face the whole day.
Yeah. But why?
We've just had word from Thijs, who's now in the pits. He's been to see Karlsruhe, and they're planning to make their way over to the skid pad in about 5 minutes or so, so we should see another car on track shortly.
So the reason that the Zurich car has brought out their slicks is to prepare in case of even better weather. And if we look to the sky, it's a little bit mixed. It can swing both ways, I think, Austin. What do you think?
It is mixed, but this is the best it's been all day, so I think they've got a good idea there.
Yeah, luckily you're wearing your short trousers.
Yeah, it's the English summer attire. So in addition to Karlsruhe, which I just mentioned, Thijs has just reported that Hamburg TU is on their way over in about 10 or 15 minutes as well. Augsburg, on the other hand, is still waiting for their accumulator back from the electric team, so they may be a little bit while longer. I can report that it's now raining again down on the skid pad.
I think technically this is not really rain, Austin, but you're the expert on the weather.
Well, I've not put my poncho back on yet. Well, let's put it that way. Zurich have been doing some work on their car down here, and occasionally it's been making some beeping noises. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but presumably they're making progress to getting to a second run. Steph, do you want to go try and find out what they're doing?
Yes, let me ask one of the guys. It's not a countdown to an explosion or so, is it?
No, it's not. It's just to protect the low voltage battery. So when it goes too low, we just start beeping. Otherwise, we'll just forget it there forever.
Okay, so it's a signaling in order not to drain the battery too much. Are you expecting to make another run?
Yes, we will. We are waiting for the weather, and we are also gonna do it slower to try to make at least some finishing lap, and then we'll see how the other teams do and plan our strategy accordingly to that.
So, have you any idea what happened just now? I asked you earlier, but then you were a little bit busy. Maybe now you have some time to comment.
Yes, basically when the car started sleeping on the second lap, the LiDAR lost the cones, and then we lost localization, and that's basically what made us go out of the track.
Yeah, because beforehand we were speculating a little bit. It might have something to do with the crossover, because you have to, from the right-hand turn, go into a left-hand turn. That was not it.
That's definitely a challenging point, but that was not it yet. We'll see if we finish the second lap to the right. We'll see the crossover and how it does it. For now, it was just sleeping in the second lap of going to the right.
Yeah, so it was a little bit too much slip. Your LiDAR, didn't fully recognize all the cones, and it lost, well, the road, basically.
Yes, basically we didn't expect the road to be that slippery, and then we lost all the cones, yes.
So you just wanted to go too fast, presumably?
Yes, we were a bit too ambitious, apparently.
Okay, so in the next run, probably you will stay on track.
We'll see.
Okay, good luck. Meanwhile, the team from Karlsruhe has also entered the dynamic area. Also here we can see some fiddling going on with the sensors in front of the car. The low voltage system is on because we can see the green light here. Austin, we can also see an array of red cameras, I think, on the main hoop.
Yes, Steph, I believe there are cameras to help the car determine where all the cones are and the best line to take through the course.
Yeah, so in addition to the 3 cameras on the main hoop, we also can see 2 sensors in front of the car. Any idea what kind of sensors that may be? We are going to guess that there are LiDAR sensors, but somebody's laughing here. Are there LiDAR sensors? Yes, they are LiDAR sensors. So, whereas the Zurich team has 1 in front, in the center position, the Karlsruhe team seems to have 2 in front of the front wing.
When you can now see that TU Hamburg has joined the dynamic area. well, they're going to be making some preparations to make a run shortly as well. So we've got 3 of the 4 teams that are through scrutineering over here getting ready to make a run.
Yeah, so after some wait now, well, more action is going on. We just heard that the team from Karlsruhe are rerouting their systems from manual control to autonomous control. They have to do that by, well, presumably switching some plugs in the car, some connectors. We also can see that one of the lids has on the inside a couple of dollar bills. There should be a story behind it. We'll check it out later.
Yeah, it looks like they've used the dollar bills as the first ply of the composite layup. It actually looks quite nice.
So I just indicated that the Karlsruhe team was switching some stuff. Mickey checked out what exactly the driver of the driverless car was doing. Mickey, what was happening here?
Well, it turns out they have 2 separate braking systems. One for the, let's say, if they push the car and they have a driver inside, and the other one for the autonomous vehicle mode. And they have to switch it, obviously, back and forth between the 2 driver modes. And that's what you see the driver doing just before the start of their autonomous mode.
Yeah, while we were talking, we had to make way a little bit for the TU Hamburg, who's also parking their car alongside the Zurich car. Well, presumably they also have to switch the brake system at this point, because when they are being pushed, the driver inside should be able to hit the brakes at any time. So yeah, I'm curious to find out who is going first. The only team that has lights burning now is Zurich. The sun is starting to come out. Then again, we still have a little bit of rain. So let's see.
Looks like Zurich are getting ready to make a move. Driver's getting back in the car. They've got the push bar hooked up and starting to move some of the accessories away from the car. So I think we'll see them back on the skid pad shortly. Just heard Karlsruhe say they're going to go now, and the driver's getting in the car, so it looks like they may be the first ones onto the skid pad now. And they are in fact making a move now.
Mit der Stange kriegen wir voraussichtlich kein Problem.
So if you're watching online and you've switched to another tab, now's a good time to switch back to the Formula Student Germany live stream, because there's going to be some cars going around the skid pad, and I think there's going to be a few of them all in quick succession.
Yep, we are about an hour and a half into our 2.5 hour window in which driverless cars can make an attempt to run a skid pad. And we might see a car actually finishing the track soon. We're going to make our way to a safer place.
Ich glaube, dafür sitzt da hinten die Laserkanone.
Karlsruhe driver is out of the car. The car is lined up at the starting spot.
Ich kann es dir nachher kann ich es dir mal zeigen.
So let's find out whether Karlsruhe can keep the timing equipment in place.
And the majority of the cones would also be preferred.
Yeah, and hopefully also set a fast time. That will be even better.
Die Schweizer stehen auch schon wieder in den Startlöchern, gell? Ja, ist grad schlecht.
There's the green flag.
But computer says no, I suppose. They have to wait a little bit in order to get the rest into safe distance.
All right, Karlsruhe lined up. Are they going to finish the run? Ready to drive sound? All right, they're moving. Quite a bit more cautious than Zurich in their run. But of course, Zurich never actually made it to the end of this run. Karlsruhe so far very composed. Also a bit slow compared to Zurich just now. And they are actually collecting some cones, but they have corrected. We're now closer to the middle of the track again.
So now for the left-hand turn switch. And yes, they managed to go into the left turn.
Taking at 10.9 seconds for the clockwise run.
Yeah, I suppose they are learning in the systems right now for the second run in order to be able to be a little bit faster. But it does look like that they are going to complete the first ever driverless skid pad. Give them a hand. Team from Karlsruhe.
Actually collected an extra cone in the exit, but they did finish properly. The left-hand turn was a bit slower than the right-hand one, and the average time is an 11.19.
I was just speaking to the officials about how the cars actually know which way to go around the skid pad. And I was a bit, when he explained, you can see there are 4 taller orange cones right at the center of the track. And the car knows that once it passes those cones, second time it needs to change direction. And then once it passes those 2 more times, it needs to go straight. So it was a good job for Karlsruhe to finish the course despite taking out one of those cones, showing that they've built in some robustness into their system, which allowed them to be able to complete the event. And meanwhile, Zurich are now rolling up to the starting line. Laptop plugged into the car.
Yeah, let's find out whether they will actually go a little bit slower than last time. Last time they were really fast through the first lap. And then also really fast through the second lap. But then, it caused some kind of spin. And a little bit of a hold up, but then again there was no queue, so there was no problem at all, except for the timekeeping guys having to come out of their secret timekeeping van. That's the white van parked in the opposite of the track. That is where all the magic happens. They do know all the data of all the cars. At any given point they also know where each car is. So that is really the heart of this competition at this moment. They had actually to come out the van to restore the timekeeping equipment, which is fixed. And now let's see whether Zurich can keep it this way.
It's quite interesting to see that the 2 teams that have driven so far have taken a completely different approach to how to try and get a decent lap here. Karlsruhe just going as slow as they knew was required to set a time, whereas Zurich sort of knows how fast the car is supposed to be able to go, and we're sort of hoping to keep the controls in hand. Let's see how far Zurich have down-tuned their car now, and let's see if they can keep it in the track. Sure, guys are taking their time to set up the car. Low voltage system is already active. Driver is out of the car. did seem at one point that they were considering putting on slick tires on their car. As of now, they still are driving on the wet tires.
Achtung, die grüne Fahne kommt.
Looks like the final adjustments have been made and their laptop is disconnected.
Also, we can see the happy driver not in the car anymore, so the car now is driverless, ready to go, I suppose. Last team member standing with the car to switch the HV systems.
Blue light on. And the high voltage system is also on, so the red lights are flashing and the autonomous system is active.
I can see one of the timekeeping guys standing at the fence a little bit anxious, so probably as curious as us to see what happens.
With this car, we now know that we have to stand back. And there it goes. Quite a bit more cautious than the previous run, but it looks quite a bit quicker than the guys from Karlsruhe so far.
Yeah, this is considerably slower than their first attempt, but it is clean up until now. Slight hesitation there.
Once again, the switchover was the hard part, although we can see that it was actually on a significantly quicker lap, even though it hesitated. Luckily, the timing equipment had been put back quite a bit since the previous crash, so nothing is damaged now. They still have 2 runs left, though. Yeah, it does appear that as soon as this car does deviate beyond a certain point and hits a cone, it's just not that good at then compensating for that and picking up the track where it was supposed to be. Up until that point, though, this car does look very steady and smooth. So you would think that once they do stitch together 4 proper laps, 4 proper circles, that the time should be pretty good. The 8.5 or something that they drove on the clockwise lap would, of course, be about 2.5 seconds quicker than the time from Karlsruhe so far. We'll see how much faster Karlsruhe dares to go in their next lap. Of course, they did collect some cones as well, so the actual time of 11.2 on the board right now will actually get some markup. So their actual time on the scoring board, on the scoring sheet, will be a bit higher. So they will be anxious to get them another lap and try and get that clean. Meanwhile, in the background, the guys from Hamburg are quietly setting up their car as well, while we are still waiting for the guys from Augsburg, who presumably are still waiting for their battery to arrive from the electric team.
Yeah, if I would be able to make the call now, I would go out and drive right now, because it does seem that the gray clouds are packing up again. So I do expect some rain to come, so this is probably a good time to set at least a dry lap, which is not only nice in terms of grip, but also we have seen that the sensors of the driverless cars are a little bit, they don't like the rain so much, probably because of some reflections, or I don't know exactly what the effect can be, but they don't like it. So this is probably a good time to start and make a run.
Karlsruhe just indicated that we're preparing for another run. And I hope the guys from Augsburg are keeping an eye at the clock, because we only have 15 minutes of running time in this event. Karlsruhe is on the starting line again. Drivers out. They haven't turned on the high voltage system and the autonomous system yet. Alright, final adjustments have been made. Previous time was at 11.2, but with a couple of cones. So even just a clean run with a similar time would be a good result right now. High voltage system is on. They did tell me that they plan to go a bit faster than the previous run. Let's see how this works out.
They literally use the words full cone mode, so quite anxious to see how fast they will go. So we can see a slight hesitation here. We saw that also this morning during the acceleration event and also during the first run. It is off for a first right-hand turn.
Right now it does look more convincing than in its previous run. Although now it is collecting quite a few cones and it has stopped. So that was an emergency stop, which can be seen by the blue flashing light. But give them a hand for this attempt. And let's hope that they get another attempt in. We still have about 15 minutes of running time.
So approaching the starting line is TU Hamburg, car 478. And again, a very happy driver of the driverless cars. I don't know exactly what it is with the happy drivers of the driverless cars, but they're all happy. They can't be blamed, I suppose. This is the first run of the team for today. Tomorrow, this morning on acceleration, they did look a little bit, well, let's say dodgy on the acceleration, especially on higher speeds. The car went a little bit from left to right. Also even, well, slightly bouncing off maybe the pit wall. Just nearly scraping it. Let's see how it can work out the cones here. But maybe they fixed it and they have a very fast run.
Yeah, we'll see, Steph. To be honest, at low speed, their car looked like it was doing quite well. It was only when it got a bit quicker that it sort of started to oscillate with a larger and larger amplitude until it sort of came very close to the wall. So we'll see if they've been able to sort those niggles out and get a clean run in here, or at least a run in here.
Yeah, I guess there's two options. Either high speed is a problem, or driving for more than 3 seconds is a problem. If it's the second case, then it might be hard to properly finish this track. If the first thing is the case, then it might be easy for them, because they did look pretty good in the first couple meters. Meanwhile, behind us, Zurich has made an interesting call. So far, they haven't actually completed one skip pad event. And I wouldn't say that that was due to lack of grip. It was just purely due to how they approached this and how quickly they were going. Nonetheless, they have now elected to swap their rain tires for full slick tires. Apparently they have concluded that the track is dry enough and that they are helped by more grip. I think in order to finish properly, they will also have to have a slightly less aggressive approach to the skid pad though. So let's see how their third run goes, and let's see how the first run from TU Hamburg goes. Their low voltage system is on, their autonomous system is on as well, and their steering wheel is calibrating. You can see the front wheels wiggle about a bit. Pretty soon they'll switch on the high voltage system.
While we're waiting for that car to start, I see that Karlsruhe have now brought some slick tires out to the dynamic area, so they're giving themselves the option of switching to slicks as well.
Track's been declared cleared as we're waiting for the red light to start flashing. There we go. High voltage is active. I'm curious to see how they're going to approach this event. How fast will this try and drive? Another calibration from the steering wheel, and the car is off. And they have clearly chosen to go for the very cautious approach for the first one. It is taking the right turn correctly so far.
It's a clean first loop.
We do need some background music for this.
He's managed to navigate the crossover successfully. He's onto his third loop now. Had a right time of 15.78 seconds. He's now completed the third loop, clean so far. Let's hope they can finish it off here.
It is very steady, if nothing else. Let's see if the car will know to go straight. Yes, and it stops right away. So that is a clean lap. And it's a 15.92 for them. And that is a well-deserved round of applause. The guys from Hamburg are going to attempt a second run right away. I just talked to one of the guys, and they, as we could all see, chose to start quite slowly, but they actually are planning to build up their speed quite significantly in the next couple of runs. So let's see how much faster they can go in their second run and their third run.
And I can see Augsburg pulling into the dynamic area now. Looks like they must have gotten the accumulator back in. So looks like all four cars will at least set a time in this, or attempt to set a time in the event. Getting a big cheer from their fans in the stand.
Yeah, they look very pleased to be here. Welcome back, guys. Meanwhile, the guys from Karlsruhe are also putting slicks under their car.
I've got to say, the driver for Augsburg doesn't look nearly as happy as any of the other drivers we've seen so far.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Oh, now he is. He's smiling.
The way the guys from Hamburg have tuned their car is they aim to drive at a certain set speed. And from what I've been told, they are going to increase that speed by 50%. So just now it was 4 meters per second, and now they're going to attempt to run at 6 meters per second. So we should see a significant drop in their time, as long as they manage to finish, of course. So let's see. The guys from Hamburg have a startup procedure where they calibrate their front steering system, and to make this a bit easier, they lift the front of the car as they are setting up on the starting line. They've now turned on the low voltage system and the autonomous system, and I guess they're doing final checks. You can see the front steering, the front wheels now steering, and basically going all the way from left to the other end of their steering range. After that, the steering wheel clicks back into its central position, and they remove the jacking bar, the push bar. There's a media guy running away, which which leads us to a situation where a clear track can be given. And let's see, 15.9 for them to beat their own time and 11.2 to beat the overall time. High voltage system is being turned on. There we go. Ready to drive sound. Final calibration of the front steering wheel.
Can hear a beeping noise coming from the car.
No, it's Zurich.
And it is moving significantly faster than the previous time. Negotiating the cones pretty well so far.
It's an 8.97 right-hand loop time.
Yeah, they just told me that they actually increased it right away to 7 meters per second, so it's almost twice as fast as their previous run, the set speed. And it's going very nicely so far. And they have successfully finished and stopped, and it's 9.04. And that is a very significant improvement on their own time, and also a significant improvement on Karlsruhe's time so far, which goes to show that so far, at least, with about 30 minutes to go in this event, the careful build-up approach is very much the way to go. These guys still have 2 more runs to go, and I'm sure they're eager to screw up to turn up the speed a bit more. I think they want to go up to at least 10 meters per second for at least their last run, maybe even their next run already.
So for the people on the grandstands, you might be able to hear a beeping noise coming from the Zurich car. Again, this is for them a warning that their low voltage batteries are a little bit low. It's for them just to recognize not to drain them too much. So there's no problem whatsoever on there.
As Augsburg is approaching the starting line.
Yeah, for them this is the first skid pad run. And they just come out of the paddock into the dynamic area. Quite curious what kind of approach they want to use. We have seen the team from Zurich going really fast on the first run right away. And the other 2 cars taking a more cautious approach. I'm quite sure that that maybe is the best option. So let's find out what Augsburg will do.
It was interesting to see this morning how differently cars respond to deviating from their programmed path. So, for example, the Hamburg car, which just now very successfully drove a skid pad, wasn't that good at handling deviations on the skid pad and the acceleration this morning on higher speed. Augsburg, on the other hand, were actually pretty good. They had one run, only one shot, very much towards the end of the event. And they did deviate a little bit from the start, from the center line, but they compensated for it very well. Let's see if that translates into staying properly on the track and skid pad. Or maybe they don't need such interventions. They are now pulling back the car. Not sure what they're going to do. No, just repositioning.
So we are seeing some parallels to this morning, where we had a very slow start of the acceleration event, but in the end we had a very exciting few last runs. I think we're getting the same now, Thijs. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We were actually expecting it to be not quite as stressful towards the end, since we have so much time for so few cars. But like you said, just like this morning, most of the action is actually happening towards the end of the session. So with half an hour to go, we can see the high voltage system active for Augsburg for the first time. So we're all going to move away a bit. Anxious to see how this car will navigate. Like this morning, the alignment procedure for their steering wheels is a bit different than from the other teams, and only now are they pointing straight. Track's been cleared. Yeah, it looks like this run has been aborted.
Yeah, it's a bit similar to what we saw this morning with the Karlsruhe car on the acceleration event. And car started, it was on, but a bit hesitant or even reluctant to go 1 meter forward. They're resetting the car, and I'm quite sure that they will try it once again. I saw the team members just now looking at each other and discussing what possibly could have gone wrong. But after all, it is more or less a computer, so a hard reset might sometimes even help here.
Meanwhile, in the background, it looks like Zurich and Hamburg both are eager to get in the next run. Zurich, of course, still haven't actually set a valid time. Hamburg are looking to improve on their time, which is already the best so far of the day.
Yeah, and I'm also quite sure that Karlsruhe is really wanting to also win this event, like the acceleration event this morning. They're pumping up their slick tires to the correct tire pressure. So they're also ready to go in a few minutes, I suppose. Whilst we are waiting for the Augsburg car, a couple of team members around.
It would be an interesting reversal if things sort of stay the way they are now, where this morning Zurich and Karlsruhe both were very quick and Hamburg was quite a bit slower. Now Hamburg is leading the pack by quite a margin and the other three teams are behind. For now, let's hope that Augsburg and Zurich at least set a time. So let's see what the guys from Augsburg can do. I think they just flipped both of the switches and the track has been declared clear again. There is the ready to drive sound and the wheels are pointing straight forward and it's going off and immediately it's actually going into a cone and it has been stopped, I think, by an override maneuver. Yeah, that is unfortunately a DNF right away.
Die nächsten wollen schon zur Startbahn. Zürich kommt wieder.
Alright, looks like Augsburg chooses not to immediately take their second run. Rather, they're going to adjust some parameters as Zurich rolls up to the line again for their third attempt. Of course, so far they still haven't made it through the second clockwise turn successfully. So let's hope this third time they can actually navigate the switch from right turn to left turn successfully. Right, the guys from Augsburg just indicated that they thought that maybe the initial position of the car wasn't quite lined up as it should have been, which may have caused the car to veer into the cones right away.
And he also mentioned that it was similar to the issue we saw in acceleration, where the car sort of veered to the left a little bit before going perfectly straight. They did finish that run, but not so lucky here.
All right, final adjustments made for the Fluela from AMZ. Autonomous systems on.
They've got the green flag and they've activated the HV system.
All right, let's see. Have they chosen to take a strategy closer to that of Hamburg? Still going pretty fast. Oh. Well, at least they didn't take out the timing equipment this time. And it got killed as soon as it veered offline significantly. But congrats for this attempt anyway. Let's hope their fourth run will be a bit more successful.
Well, we're waiting for them to reassemble the track and retrieve the car. Just one more reminder to fill out the commentator questionnaire that we've sent out on Twitter and Facebook and on the FSG website. Just help us get some more information about the teams and the cars, so that during the rest of the events throughout the rest of the weekend we'll have more to talk about. We're also having quite a few discussions about what to actually call the people in the driverless cars as they're pushed up to the line, and we've not been able to come up with a good name for them. So if you can think of anything we should start calling them, send us a tweet or message on Facebook or note in the live stream with what you think we should call them, and depending on what the suggestions are, we may start listening.
The guys from Hamburg have upped their speed again. They're now going for 9 meters per second. It was 7 last time around, so they're aiming for a 6 point something for their next run. Before that though, the guys from Augsburg are going to take another shot at their first run. Actually, it's going to be their second run, I guess, because they did get off the starting line previous attempts. We've just heard from the official that the skid pad will be open until 7:20, so that's an extension of 20 minutes on the normal opening time.
And additionally, the test track will be open until 8 p.m. So the test track will be open for another hour and 20 minutes tonight. Everybody give the guy holding up the screen a cheer. He looks like he's working very hard. Hopefully we'll get that sorted for the events tomorrow. It's been playing up all day.
It's a shame we can't wave back now.
I hope he's not stuck like a bug when it tries to go up against the light. It's kind of what it looks like.
Looks like the guys from Augsburg are making the final preparations and flipping the switch. Low voltage and now high voltage. And as soon as the front wheels point forward, the car will be ready to go. From where I am standing, it does look like the car is pointing straight forward, so if it crashes again, it can't be the same problem as the previous one. So there's the ready to drive sound. The wheels are now pointing forward and the car is moving off the line very slowly, accelerating quickly, it's spinning immediately. And it's being killed for obvious reasons because it was going straight for the timing equipment. The timing equipment guys are now very thankful for the effectiveness of the override buttons, I'm sure. All right, and that is the cue for Hamburg to roll up to the starting line again. They are 100% sure, of course, that they are going to be able to actually navigate the course at this speed. They've never tried it at this speed before, but they already have a very quick time. If they do manage to finish this, it will be a significant improvement though.
Oh, this is big news right here. We've actually got a queue for the first time. Looks like there's 3 cars all waiting to go at the same time.
The definition of a queue.
Second time.
I believe this is the second driver queue, isn't it? All right, Hamburg guys have lifted up the front wheels again. So they're going through their steering system calibration. You can slowly see the front wheels turning left and turning right again. And then straight forward. After that, the high voltage system will be activated. We will all find a safe place to stand, and we'll see if they can beat their own 9.04. They've been super clean so far. I don't believe they've collected a single cone. Let's see if they can keep that up. High voltage on, driving mode on, starting very cautiously. Let's see if they are going to build up speed. Yes, they're going pretty quickly now. It's looking very good so far. Will they make the switch properly? Ah, they've collected quite a few cones and they've stopped the car. Even though it was a 7.08, so they were on their way to a very quick time. Give them a big hand. This was definitely very impressive. They were pretty close too to stitching together a right turn lap and a left turn lap. only understeering quite a little bit, so unfortunately they had to kill it. They might go for another attempt though, they still have 1 run left.
We have Karlsruhe making their way to the starting line, and meanwhile on the test track we can see a team that's not Hertfordshire doing some running for the first time.
All right, the guys from Karlsruhe, their best time so far is an 11.2. I have to make up more than 2 seconds in order to beat the best time from Hamburg so far. Karlsruhe is up for their 3rd run, and it looks like Zurich are leaving the area, so they might elect not to take their 4th run. Oh, no. They're shaking their head. They're just turning the car around in order to get ready to take their 4th run in a bit. As Karlsruhe is about to start. And they're off. On their previous run, when I said it looked smooth, they right away ran into the cones, but they are now further than they were then. So it's looking pretty good. Oh, that's a pretty sudden stop. Not sure what caused that. Guess it was my fault again.
So Thijs, maybe we can agree that you do not comment about the status of the skid pad anymore until they're done, in order not to jinx the run. Is that something we can agree upon, Thijs?
That is probably the best. I will no longer say that things are looking smooth.
Very well.
And don't get too excited, Thijs.
Yeah.
You tend to lose your cool quite often. You can tell by how excited your voice gets.
So while we are making small talk and a little bit jokes here, it obviously seems that the guys from Karlsruhe are not too happy with this result. But they do have still, I believe, 1 run, or maybe 2. Let me check. 1 run left, so they have still 1 try to go in order to beat the time from Hamburg, who looked very steady on the first 2 runs, And the third run, when they upped the speed a little bit, it was still looking good until they went into the left-hand turn. If they can fix it, this will probably get quite special, because also Zurich has one run left. And they haven't set a time yet, so they will really want to have a time on the scoring sheet in order not to lose too many points for the overall standings.
Also, if you've not yet noticed, the second timing and scoring board is now fully functional once again. So the repairs seem to have worked. I've got to say that down here in the dynamic area, all the teams that aren't leading, aka all the teams that aren't Hamburg, are all looking quite serious and miserable, whereas Hamburg is looking quite satisfied with themselves so far. They're still working on the car, but they're distinctly more relaxed than the other teams at the moment.
You really can see the tension building up as we approach the closing time for the skid pad, which is 7:20. So that's about 25 minutes left. That should be enough for all the teams that have a run left to make a run. But then again, they only have one run left, so they have to make it count.
Das ist right for the event.
Just a reminder that the event's been extended by 20 minutes, so we now have about 22 minutes left for the teams to get their final runs in. Instead of the original ending time of 7 o'clock, it's now 7:20. And the test track will be open until 8 p.m.
Hamburg kommt wieder.
So the current fastest car on the wet pad or the skid pad today, the team from Hamburg is approaching the starting line again for their their fourth run and final run. And the last run they run with 9 meters per second. We just got confirmation that they tuned it down a little bit to 8 meters per second, which still should be significantly faster than the last run, so the 9.04. So let's see if they can beat their own time this way around.
Tobi, bist du da? Du hast schon länger nichts mehr gesagt hast. Normalerweise bist du immer sehr redefreudig. Du könntest mir ein kleines Lagerfeuer machen, aber mir ist so kalt. Ja, das kann ich auch machen, aber mir ist so scheiße.
Team are making some final preparations now.
Voll das Arschloch, ey. Ja, wie immer.
So all in all, the team from Hamburg looks quite relaxed. We also had a short discussion just now on what exactly happened during the acceleration event this morning, where it was a little bit less stable. They indicated that they didn't test acceleration that much, so that may have been the cause. What do we expect for now? Personally, I expect 2 very stable right-hand turns, and then we have the crossing, and then it will get really interesting.
Also open until 8 p.m. The test area will be also open until 8 p.m.
Hopefully you've not jinxed it there, Steph.
But they showed very consistent laps on the past 3 runs. So.
Well, we'll find out now.
And it made the switch. And now going in the last turn. Yes, they made it. It was a very clean run with a time of building up
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Well, the right-hand turn was 7.9, so that's a significant improvement already. So I'm assuming that the average time will have been improved by about a second as well, which would have been the fastest time of the day by a margin. I'm sure the guys from timekeeping have a backup system in place that can actually record the time fully. So we will see that later on in the timing sheet. Oh, I now see that it actually is showing on the other timing board, which was lagging quite a bit earlier, but apparently now that it is more up to date than the one we're close to. So it looks like a 7.9 on average as well. All right, as Zurich rolls up to the starting line for their last attempt at setting a time.
Bestimmt nicht der Einzige, Alter. Ich mach gleich mal 5 Minuten Pause.
So the guys from Zurich are now facing a dilemma. If they want to score any significant points in this event, they will also have to go quite fast. If they manage to finish a lap, but only put in sort of a 15-second or 12-second time, they will not gain any significant points compared to the 7.9 time from Hamburg. So I do think that if they just want to go for honor and finish the event, they will have to go very, very careful. If they actually want to score some points, they will go pretty fast again, risking crashing. Let's see what they chose.
Eigentlich Gehaltszuschläge, weil man eine bestimmte Körpertemperatur unterschreibt. Ja, zum Glück ist Robert nicht mein Chef. Ich wette 5 Hütchen bald. Das entscheide ich spontan.
This is going to be Zurich's final run here. The HV light is now flashing. And they start their final run.
All right, Zurich on their way. All right. Well, they did finish. I didn't dare say that it was looking good, but it was looking good halfway. And they actually managed to set the fastest time of the day with a 7.58, so they did have the balls to sort of push the car hard enough to actually go for the fastest time. Congrats, guys.
I've got to say, they very narrowly avoided those cones on the exit lane, which would have added some points to their tally, but I think they've gotten away with it here just by a few millimeters.
ganze Blitz.
So I believe it's a clean run, but we'll need the officials to confirm that. From our viewpoint, it does look like all the cones have stayed in their boxes. So we'll find out. It is, they're giving me the thumbs up. It is a clean run, so that time puts them in the lead.
Well, that is a pretty dramatic turn of events. 10 minutes after the official planned closing time, 10 minutes before the eventual closing time. On their fourth run, after, well, basically messing up the first three, Zurich does manage to get the fastest time of the day so far. And while Augsburg is lining up, the Karlsruhe car looks pretty deserted. And I'm not sure if they're going to take their final run. But I doubt someone's going to be much faster than this today, to be honest.
Yeah, at the moment the Karlsruhe car is not just driverless, it's crewless as well, if you can see behind us. Augsburg are very slowly making their way to the start line. It looks like the push bar guys are having to work very hard. Don't know if the driver's got his foot in the brakes to play a little bit of a prank. Also notice they've got a very aggressive camber setting on their wheels. Lots of negative camber to get around the track.
Well, with that surprisingly fast and very successful run from Zurich just now, we now have 3 out of 4 cars that are available to drive that have set a time. Augsburg is the last team to not set a time, and they're going to try to change that now. We still have 7 minutes of running time left in this session. Let's hope they can get the car off the line properly this time.
Can also see Karlsruhe behind us adjusting some tire pressure, so it looks like they are planning to go out and do one more run. There's some confusion at the start line. It looks like the light may not be doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing on the top of the roll hoop. Can't quite see from here, the wing's in the way. can see the low voltage light is active. Seem to be continuing discussions.
Attention to RT. Scrutineering will be open until 7:30 p.m. Attention to RT. Scrutineering will be open until 7:30 p.m. Thank you.
We're waiting to see if the guys from Augsburg can get their car to respond properly. The guys from Karlsruhe are eager to get in one final attempt.
Du, ich bin dein Vater.
Well, it looks like the Augsburg guys are moving away from the car. Waiting for the final run. What I think will be the final attempt at a run, at least, to commence. They're off the starting line very cautiously. Previous time the car suddenly accelerated quite violently. Now it's been stopped again too. Yeah, I think that's it for the Augsburg guys. Please give him a big hand, guys. They were very successful this morning. Not quite so successful in the afternoon at Skidpad, but tomorrow they'll have another shot at the track run. Let's see if we can get in one final run for the guys from Karlsruhe. So there's 2 minutes left on the clock. Karlsruhe have one more run. They do have to shave off quite a bit from their time. Let's see if they can get closer to the 7 point something times from Hamburg and Zurich. They'll be eager to shave off about 4 seconds from their time. But that is quite a dramatic improvement. They have now installed the slick tires as compared to the previous run. Let's see if that can buy them some tenths or maybe even full seconds.
I'm quite enjoying how strategic this skid pad is, and really all of these events with the driverless cars, because the teams can program in how aggressive they want the cars to be, and they effectively know what target time they need to achieve, and they can back solve what they need to tell the car to do. So it's whether or not they want to go for the victory or just get some solid points here, and whether the risk is worth the reward or not.
It all depends on how much confidence they have in the car, I guess.
So since Thijs has jinxed the past 2 Karlsruhe runs, we've sent him away. So now hopefully Karlsruhe can have a clean lap. Okay, give them a big hand for the last and final run.
I think that looks like it's going to be the end of the skid pad here. It's 7:20 and it doesn't look like Augsburg is going to take their final run.
Yeah, so that is it for today for the dynamic events. Tomorrow at 11 we will start with the wet pad for the CV and EV teams. Oh no, it's a skid pad I see. So maybe the organization changed from last year, so I'm not quite sure. We'll check it out. So we have the skid pad event in the morning, and in the afternoon we have the track event for the driverless teams. We want to thank you all for your attention. If you have any room for improvement, please let us know. And do not forget to fill in the questionnaires that we sent out. If you have any questions for us, please approach us in the paddock area. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Can you also bring the SPF?